Hello, my name is Svetlana with Gaia Speech, and in this video, I would like to share all my strategies that I've developed through visuals to work on stutters and disfluencies. So I have my own practice, Gaia Speech, which is an online therapy practice, and I've been in the profession 11 years. And I've been developing my own strategies that I've had a great deal of success with clients. And I just want to share it. And if you're interested in getting more information, just reach out to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and click share and get right into it. This is more of like a conversational type of presentation. It's just easier for me to explain things this way. So I'm just going to dive into it. So what do we consider a stutter? The pretty typical ones are getting stuck on a sound, getting stuck on a word, prolonging a sound, prolonging a syllable, repeating a word. Also, other disfluencies is talking too fast that it's hard to understand. Sometimes stutters can be setting specific. So certain situations will trigger stutters. Sometimes I've seen clients taking in too much air in their mouth when they're talking, and discoordinated breathing, which we'll discuss more, causes, or let's say makes the stutter worse. So breathing. I'm going to talk about it briefly because I have a separate video on where I teach coordinated breathing. But here I'm just going to cover how breathing is absolutely crucial to reducing and preventing your stutters. The key to breathing is breathe in through your nose. If you notice yourself breathing a lot through your mouth, you can always reset and just breathe in through your nose and calm your body. The key is to connect to the diaphragm. So when you breathe in through your nose, you engage the diaphragm. As you can see in the visuals, the belly kind of expands when you inhale. And then if you breathe out, the belly is just gonna go back into neutral. As a natural flow, we don't use our upper body to breathe actually. So if you check in with your body, see if you notice like you're using a lot of your upper body, your ribs, your back, your shoulders, your clavicle muscle right here. If you're using a lot of these muscles up here to breathe, chances are it's making your stutters worse. So you can use my strategy that I include in my channel. You can do meditations, whatever you're comfortable with. There's many different breathing strategies out there. The one I teach, I feel, is like the simplest one to connect to the diaphragm and make your breathing pattern more coordinated. So the way I teach, or I start teaching, training the breathing pattern with speaking, is through reading. I do this with children and I do this with adults. So the steps, as you see here in the visual, start with like a list of words. Breathe in through your nose. Notice how much air you're taking in. Notice, are you breathing in through your nose? Are you breathing like too strong? Are you pulling in air? This is just a good time to become aware of how you're actually breathing. And you kind of gradually increase from a list of words to phrases to sentences to complex sentences. Now, in complex sentences, we naturally have what's called conjunctions, commas, periods, of course. These are natural times that give us an opportunity to pause. A lot of times with clients tend to speak on one breath, and that is going to make your stutters even more intense. So during the practice, you can breathe in through your nose before you start speaking. And then as you reach a conjunction or a comma, you pause and take a gentle breath, not like as big as the one that you initiated, but like a gentle one, so that you're not strained and you're not on one breath the entire utterance. Now, of course, when we're speaking, we don't have conjunctions or commas when we're speaking, we're just speaking. But our brain knows subconsciously when these pauses happen. But if you're going too fast, or if you're taking in too much air, you're not allowing your brain to kind of naturally detect these moments where you can just pause naturally in running speech. After that, you can move to paragraphs. So let's say you can inhale at the start of each paragraph, at the start of each sentence, conjunctions. Usually kind of write out the sentences or have the paragraph, and then I mark a letter B, let's say, so that there's a visual reminder. This is where you breathe in. You can do that for yourself. Just pick a book, a newspaper, whatever, practice reading it, but the goal of that is to practice your breathing as you're reading. So reach out to me if you have any more questions about this strategy. So while you're reading these sentences, another good thing to do besides monitoring your breathing is monitor your thoughts. Our thoughts create stutters. I'm gonna put it right out there, and I'm gonna go into it to explain why. But it's good to monitor where your thoughts are. Chances are you are anticipating a stutter on a certain sound or a certain word even. So that's why I made this activity. It's read a sentence, made it put like a little space, a box or whatever next to that sentence where you're gonna write down what thoughts did you notice as you were reading it? What beliefs you were telling yourselves? Did you anticipate a stutter? In what part of the sentence did you notice it? Chances are, again, it was because a certain sound or a certain word was coming up. Also notice, are you running out of air by the end of the sentence? Jot that down because it's just good to start noticing that. Do you vary your intonation? Now, when we vary intonation, we naturally create pauses. As you just noticed, I did that. When we make a statement, our intonation goes down. And we pause. Exclamation makes our intonation go up. Now, intonation can also vary if you have a complex sentence like these. So for example, I like cooking and reading, went down. But I don't like washing dishes afterward, went down. So it went up and then went down. So notice how your intonations are as you're reading. Again, intonation help us to pause. If you're reading everything monotone, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to pause and vary your breath and not strain and just speak more smoothly. Another example. Beverly is clearly exhausted, yet she insists on dancing till dawn. And this can go on and on. You know, you just keep practicing. Also notice if you are straining any muscles. When I work with clients, the range of muscles that are being strained, just it ranges from people. Sometimes it's in the face, sometimes in the jaw, lips, neck, shoulders, hands, toes, knees, you name it. It's just start checking in with your body. I made a separate video in my channel on how to check in with your body. A lot of us are not even aware of what's going on with our bodies a lot of times. So that strategy is in the channel. Now, this is a very important point. I'm going to put it out there. Believe it or not, a stutter is a push and a pull. It's like physics, right? Something is pushing, something is pulling. Notice when you have a stutter, you have the impulse also to push the words out. That's the push. However, also a lot of people already feel a stutter coming on. Now, I've heard people say they physically feel it like in the part of their body, like in their chest or something. I had a student the other day tell me he just had the thought come to him that he's going to stutter. And of course he did. So a lot of times people describe when they feel a stutter is coming on, they try to prevent it somehow. So that's the pull. So you're pushing the words out of the sounds, and then you're pulling back, trying to prevent a stutter from happening. And this constant back and forth, back and forth. What do? Go into neutral. It's kind of like in life, we're always like trying to push something and pull back and push and try to control it. You know, a situation that we feel out of control, we try to figure out how to control it. Sometimes we give too much, sometimes we pull back and give not enough. So go into neutral. That's where your breath comes in, because your breath allows you to go into neutral. Just breathe in through your nose. When you feel a stutter is coming on, breathe in through your nose, let your body relax, go into neutral. Make sure everything releases, the intensity of it, make sure it dissipates. But there's more to this, right? Because I said clients know they have the thought that the stutter is coming on. Now, if you have the thought that the stutter is coming on, that creates more thoughts. You have fear that the stutter is coming. You fear that you're going to stutter a certain sound on a certain word. Do you start problem solving in your mind quickly to avoid a word or to change a word? Which I've heard a lot of people who start to do that. It's a habit that develops very early on, and I'm going to tell you right now to stop. If you look at the concept itself, avoiding or changing things, you're going to drive yourself into a cave for safety, because you're going to there's always going to be situations that you're going to avoid. When does it end? Isn't it better to work through it? You decide what's better. Avoid something, run away, shield yourself in a fake way, or get through it. Because a lot of times, again, I don't stutter. This everything that I put on is from talking and working with clients. A lot of times clients say, it's true, the stutter is not as bad as I think it is. Because you're afraid of the consequences. So if you're in fear, your stutter's coming on, then you start problem solving to avoid or change the word. Then you problem solve to avoid the situation altogether. Then you're worried about perception. How are you going to be perceived in a particular relationship? So your mind is at least on 4 thoughts. The moment the stutter's coming on, that means you're not focused on what you actually need to do. Because your mind is busy with thoughts. Now, if you practice clear focus, just focus on what you need to do, and you didn't have all these negative thoughts coming through, how do you think you would sound? Let's keep working on it. Our thoughts are beliefs. I'm going to have a stutter. People will perceive me a certain way. I heard clients say, so an example, a client that was on a dating app and scheduled a date, and the date canceled on him. This date never heard him speak, so she didn't know he had a stutter. But when she canceled, the immediate thought in his head was, she canceled because I have a stutter. That's a belief. There's no proof to that because she didn't know he had a stutter. Now, how many of you watching have similar beliefs or perceptions that this will happen or that is happened because of my stutter? Do you have proof? But you have belief, and our belief is layered within our consciousness or subconscious, however you want to call it, in our minds. And it's in layers because, well, you know, you're a person, so you have years and years of experience, years and years building up those beliefs. Whatever you believe, you create. So if you believe you're going to stutter, you will. If you believe you're going to fail with something, you will. I had an experience once that I was walking through a park. There were some stoned steps going down. It was pouring rain, and I just kind of thought, oh, I could fall down here. I could slip and fall. What happened? I did. All flat on my back. So yeah, think about it. What are your thoughts? What are your beliefs? So I have an exercise for that to help you. Now, I say public speaking, but any kind of speaking, whether you're making a phone call, presentation, interview, audition, sales call, whatever it is, it's all public speaking. Well, very similar things happen. Now, the exercise that I find most beneficial is looking at the situation. Let's say if you isolate, let's say you had a job interview, right? Look back at whatever situation you recently had within the public speaking sphere. You had a presentation, maybe a meeting, a phone call, whatever it was. Isolate that, maybe write it on top of your worksheet, and look at what were your thoughts and feelings before the event. Because a lot of times, if we know we're going to have a job interview, a presentation, a call, whatever, we already start creating narratives in our heads, in our minds, preparing for that situation, that event, with full of beliefs and feelings and anxiety and all sorts of stuff. So what was going through your mind and body before, then what was going on during the event, And very important, what was going on after? What were you telling yourself after? The after part is very crucial here because our mind likes to link situations together. Like our mind is designed to create patterns or seek patterns to organize. Our mind is always looking to put things into folders and files and categories and take events from our lives and put them together just so that there's a pattern. And when talking to people, they tell me these patterns, and then we kind of break it down a bit of like, is there really a pattern here? Is it true? Maybe there is a pattern, but it's not this one. There could be a whole other pattern that is true. So it's very important to look because again, our mind is in layers. Whatever we kind of see the pattern on the superficial, chances are it's not the truth. Chances are there's a whole other pattern that is beneath the surface. So it's very important if you have a job interview, a presentation, a call, whatever it is, to sit with that and do not create connections to the next one. It's like chop it off. Use it, pretend there's a scissor and there's no connection. There's no connection between the previous job interview, the current job interview, and another job interview you'll have. Do not create these stories for yourself. Like, oh, it's happened like this before, so it will happen like this again. You're creating your reality. Now, I also say here, feelings and thoughts. I'm going to separate those two, right? So how do you feel about yourself before, during, and after? And what do you say to yourself about yourself before, during, and after? That's why I make the chart. Make a chart in your workbook. Make it as big as you like. Keep these things separate. So again, our mind has the need to organize. And that's why I created these charts to help you truly organize instead of allowing your mind creating patterns. A lot of times are not real. Trust me, I've done this work many times with clients and not myself. And the superficial, whatever your patterns, your beliefs are on the surface, chances are not true. And there's something else going on way beneath that surface, and that needs to be organized and brought to your awareness. So that's why I use charts. Helps to organize. Now, how do you do that exercise that I just said, right? How do you sit with yourself and understand, trying to make this bigger. Understand what's going on with yourself. So I give instructions here. Close your eyes, do a few cycles of breathing that I shared with you before, and bring up that, isolate that scenario. Sometimes your mind can take you to multiple scenarios. So let's say if you're in a process of job interviews, or you have that belief that this is how I perform during job interviews, fine. If your mind is jumping around to different memories of job interviews, that's fine too. That's actually might be even better sometimes. So this tip 3 is allow it to play it out in your mind. Just let it happen, let it come up. Your body's going to start experiencing some emotions. It's going to start reacting to it, maybe tensing up. Just observe it. Allow it to happen and be the observer. You're like that eagle that is watching from the top and seeing everything, but not reacting to it. You're just an observer. Let it happen. And then C, this is again also in the video, how to check in with yourself. This is kind of similar to what I share in that video. See where in the body do you feel a sensation. Now, I don't want to give you examples because I usually like for the client to notice themselves. I think it's better for self-awareness than for me to say where it is, because I know chances are where it's going to be, especially the first thing you notice. But I prefer you to notice it yourself. So again, just observe it, let it come up. See what it looks like, what it feels like. Is it hard? Is it nagging? Is it stabbing? Is it sharp? Is it tight? Does it change? Does it get bigger? Does it get smaller? It can even change in color. Then also keep noticing, keep observing. Does it go someplace else, to another area of the body? So now that you're more grounded, you're more connected to your body, ask yourself, what thoughts did you have in that situation, right? What thoughts did you have before the event? What feelings did you have before the event? What emotions did you have before the event? It's also really helpful to isolate these three, understand thoughts, feelings, emotions are different things, but they're all connected to each other. It's like a chain of events, thoughts connected to feelings, which are connected to emotions. And once you kind of see it, you can come out of it gently and write in your chart. And just kind of do some free writing. Don't overthink it. Don't like judge yourself. Am I making sense? Am I writing this correctly? Just write what comes. Just let it come out. Do it for each event, each public speaking event. Okay. I want to also bring your attention to what I call a pressure meter. And ask yourself this question and see where you fall on the pressure meter. How much pressure do you put on yourself to try not to stutter? How much pressure do you put on yourself to use your strategies that you've learned somewhere, even mine? And these are just some examples of that I've heard from clients. Maybe one or two might apply to you, maybe all. How much pressure do you put on yourself to talk in front of a group? That's a big one for people. People want to do well talking in front of people, like in a social situation, and they have a hard time. But how much pressure do you put on yourself to do well in that situation? If you can put down, and honestly, being honest with yourself, you can put down what number you're on. Let's say red is 66 and above, 66 to 100. Orange is between 66 to 33. And then once you get that number, if you can set a goal to reduce the pressure by even 5 increments or 10 increments at a time, doing the work that I've demonstrated in this video, or whatever other strategy you're using. But if you can set a goal for yourself, I'm going to reduce the pressure I put on myself by even 10%. Try to achieve it within a week or two. And then check again, where's your pressure? And then if you feel like you succeeded, do another 10, 5, you know. If you set a goal for 10, but you achieved 5, that's good. And just move down, it's not realistic to like go from, let's say if you're 70 or 80 to go to 20, like that's unrealistic. Now, another way I try to teach people to let go and think freely and at the same time organize is what I call feelings thought bubble. You put the core issue that's bugging you in the middle. So I kind of designed this chart. Your chart doesn't have to look like this. When I do my own workbooks, like work on myself, it doesn't look like this nicely organized. It's just for a visual, I had to design it this way, like it's the best way I could like figure out how to put it on a piece of paper so that it looks neat and with a JPEG and everything. But when I do my own bubbles, they're pretty messy. But the point is, put the core issue in the middle. Ask yourself, what's bothering me right now? So obviously my stutter bothers me. Like that's a general one, but be a bit more specific. Like what exactly about your stutter that bothers you right now? Put that in the middle. And then branch out and ask yourself like, okay, but what about it bothers you, and see what comes to you. So these are just some examples from clients. Uh, for example, like I get anxiety and nerves, right? So you write that here, and then, that could branch off, let's say, okay, but why do you have anxiety? What is it exactly about your stutter that gives you anxiety or nerves? And, this could be very individual. So you can add, I don't know, speaking in front of people, or fear of being judged, let's say, fear of being judged. And, that makes another bubble. And then, keep asking questions. Maybe we'll go in the next direction. Like what else is connected to your frustrations with your stutter? I feel insecure. So you write that. And then there's more, like, what does insecurity mean to you? Because insecurity is a very, it's a term that people just throw around these days, but what does that mean to you? I wrote, this is from a client. She said people trying to help when she has a disfluency, and it's like a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's like they're just trying to help, so she appreciates, but it makes her look different from everybody else. Look at what comes to mind right away without overthinking it, without thinking too much, without criticizing yourself. Just like, right, this is kind of what I said, freestyle writing, just more organized. Here's an example. Stutter bothers me. So people sometimes when they stutter, they intentionally become quiet just to prevent the stutter, right? And then why do you do that? To prevent the stutter, to not go through the struggle of the stutter. And then there could be more, like how does it make you feel? Or what are the consequences of this situation? Or, there's so many questions you can ask yourself, and only you can answer, because this is very individual. So I will be adding more visuals. This is an update to my previous video. I'm always coming up with new visuals on like how to teach this and how to show it visually to people. I feel like when I do the visuals with my clients, it helps them a lot instead of just talking and doing like rigid practice. So I'm definitely in the process of developing more stuff, so I'll keep you updated. You can subscribe to this channel to stay up to date, and I also have a Facebook page, which is in my description, so you can stay up to date with, to receive more materials. I share these visuals for free. It's kind of like I just kind of share it whenever it happens on Facebook. But if you would like to do this work with me individually, you can also reach out to me and we can discuss it. We can schedule a consultation, or just messaging. So let me know if you like to work on any of these strategies with me. Okay, hope some of this helped.